If you stay ready, you don't gotta get ready. And in today's video, I'm gonna give you 6 Dynasty takes on a whim's notice, and it's gonna be controlled by the Wheel of Dynasty. I will spin this wheel, and I have to give you my best stash, my breakout, sell high, buy low, a TBH, and my last trade on a whim's notice. Here we go. Let's let the Wheel of Dynasty tell us what my first take is gonna be. So I have to tell you right now, I have to explain to you the last trade that I made in Dynasty football. All right. So for context, this is a 12-team Superflex PPR start 10 lineup. I had 3 goals going into this trade. All right. Number 1, my goal was to move on from Zay Flowers for a reasonable price. And if you don't know, I've talked pretty in depth many times about how I think Zay Flowers is more of a sell than a hold this offseason. But I also wanted to keep a competitive wide receiver room because I believe that I can compete this year. I also wanted to help my tight end room. So those were the 3 things that I wanted to accomplish. So I sent away Zay Flowers in a 2nd round pick, got back Devontae Adams, so went a little bit more of the veteran route, got the 1st round pick, and Jonnu Smith. I will show you my league here in the Foxtrot League. This is the My Teams feature on the Flock site. But you can see me, I'm team 2. Oh yeah, because we got a little Quinshon Judkins, you know, the Kool-Aid man, if you will. But so now in a start 10, we are starting Daniels, Purdy, Judkins, Henry, Jefferson, Olave, Kyle Pitts, or Jonnu Smith. That makes 7. And then we get to 10 by 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now I can start a Tony Pollard, a Jawan Jennings, Jonnu Smith, hopefully is startable name, or Jalen Wright could break out. I think there's enough there for me to compete, but I also have my first and a different 26 first that I can play around with if I want to build a more complete running back room. But that is why I made the trade. Ultimately, I know not everybody's going to agree on a name like Zay Flowers, but just a name that I was trying to move on from, and you can see exactly how I did that. All right, so I've given you my last trade. Now, what does the Wheel of Dynasty have for us next? I need to give you my favorite buy low in Dynasty today. And let me tell you what, I've got a buy low that is so affordable. Anybody can go out there and trade for this player, truthfully. But he's a player that has won you fantasy leagues in the past. His name is Stephon Diggs. Guys, be real with yourselves. How many clear-cut, obvious wide receiver ones on an NFL team can you get beyond the consensus top 50 wide receivers in Dynasty football? On KTC, the wide receiver 62. On Flock Fantasy Consensus, 54. I'm probably pushing that average up because I got him at wide receiver 48. There is genuinely zero doubt in my mind that he will lead this team in targets at least this year. If you look last year, this team's leading receiver in New England wasn't even a wide receiver. It was Hunter Henry. The top 3 wide receivers and receiving yards were Demario Douglas, Boutte, and Bourne. And here's where those wide receivers ranked amongst the league in receiving yards, amongst all wide receivers. Douglas was 49th, Boutte was 56th, and Bourne was 99th. Diggs is the clear-cut number 1 wide receiver on this team. We all love Kyle Williams. I believe Kyle Williams is going to be a great player, but from day one here, Stephon Diggs is going to be that guy. And don't forget how effective he was in 2024 before his injury. Remember, he did this on a team in Houston that had 3 wide receivers that were battling for target share. From weeks 1 to 8, he was 14th in targets per game, top 8 in receptions, reception percentage, and fantasy points, averaging over 15 points per game in that span. And look, I understand the injury concerns, but he is way too cheap to stop you from trading for him if you're a contending team. It makes no sense not to go trade for this guy. And for what it's worth, he is way ahead of schedule. You don't have to take my word for it. Literally go look up any fantasy doctor on Twitter. They all agree he is ahead of schedule. He looks extremely comfortable cutting in and out of routes with confidence. The first video you're seeing there is from early April, and the second video you're seeing is just a couple weeks ago in Pat's camp where he is burning Kendrick Bourne, who isn't coming off an ACL, by the way. Clearly the most talented, reliable wide receiver there. And by the way, you can trade like a 3rd round pick to get the guy. Let's be real for a second. If you're a contending roster, what are you going to do with that 3rd round pick? Turn it into a Stephon Diggs. You can trade away some names, KTC equivalent values in Tajay Spears, Rashid Shaheed, Ramondre Stevenson, Tank Dell, Romeo Dobbs. And here are some real trades that have happened in real leagues. 2 people sent away 3rd round picks, 1 in 25, 1 in 26. Someone sent away Ramondre Stevenson. These are real trades that are happening in real leagues. That's our Flock Fantasy database, so we know it's happening. Go trade a third and a fourth, whatever it takes to get you a Stephon Diggs. He can be a great flex this year. All right, what else have you got for me, Wheel of Dynasty here? We are spinning, and I need to be 100% honest, all right? Sometimes we got to be honest here. And that's what we're going to try and do right here, right now. It's time for a TBH. Let's get all cards on the table and be transparent. DK Metcalf, despite Aaron Rodgers being in Pittsburgh, scares the hell out of me. Now, I'm trying to rely on his contract because he's getting paid like an alpha wide receiver. So I'm assuming they're going to feed him opportunities. But man, we have just not seen a positive environment for a wide receiver in Tampa Bay since the Big Ben era. Let's be real. Let's be 100% transparent right now. The Steelers in the past 2 years have been bottom of the league in passing attempts per game, 29th and 27th. And if you look at passing yards per game, same thing, 26th and 25th. They are bottom of the barrel when it comes to a passing attack. And part of the issue here is you've got Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. He's not exactly known for producing superstar fantasy wide receivers or throwing the ball much, is he? But the other issue is you have a Steelers defense that is locked down. Last year, they gave up the 7th fewest points per game to opposing offenses at 20.8 points per game. So if I'm honest with you, logically, paying him that much money says we're going to feature the player. All right? 1 + 1 = 2. But unfortunately, sometimes 1 + 1 = 4 with Arthur Smith. And I'll be honest, it concerns me. Okay, that is my honesty session. I hope that you are open to that conversation.
If you want an in-depth breakdown of your team with customized trade targets, players to buy, sell, hold, then get your team playbook today by either becoming a yearly Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND or by going directly to the Flock store, regardless of what promo code you're on. And if you want it done live, make sure you get the live tier. Those links are in the pinned comment.
All right, what else have you got for me here, Wheel of Dynasty? We have got... It looks like it's going to ask me to give you a sell high. All right. So I kind of have felt this way for a while on this player. And I know not everybody's agreed with me, but I still think Devonta Smith is a sell. Maybe not off a high, but I still think Devonta Smith is a sell. I've been on this train for a couple years now, to be honest with you guys. Let me start by saying, as I've always said, Devonta Smith is a incredible, truly incredible real-life NFL wide receiver. However, he's in a situation that just caps his ceiling for fantasy football. This team in Philadelphia does not want, nor do they need to throw the football much at all. And that severely hurts Devonta Smith's ceiling. They are bottom third in the league in passing attempts per game since Jalen Hurts became the starter in Philadelphia. 29th, 24th, 21st, and last year, dead last, 32nd in passing attempts per game. No surprise that they were dead last year because they added Saquon Barkley, one of the best running backs we've seen in a long time, right? In fact, the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles are tied for the second lowest passing attempt per game in a single season in the last decade. Guys, only the Chicago Bears in 2022 had a lower passing attempt per game season. And more importantly, this team is rarely even down in games. They rarely need to throw the ball. Right? If you look at defensive points allowed in 2024, the Eagles are number 1. They barely give up any points, which means typically they're in control of games in the second half, which means typically they don't need to force the ball through the air. The difficult part about this as well is this team just won a freaking Super Bowl, guys. So why would they need to change their game plan? The tush push is still going to be there. It's going to hurt red zone opportunities. Saquon Barkley is still going to be there. It's going to hurt. The defense is still great. Devonta Smith is still in a tough situation, and his 2024 season needs a little bit of context because, yes, he scored 15.3 points per game. That's great. But to be fair, in a way, I know this is a little bit hyperbolic, but in a way, like the stars kind of aligned for him to have a 15-point per game season. And even with the stars aligning, 15 points per game was his ceiling, really? I mean, think about it. A.J. Brown was injured this year. That opened up opportunities. He was much better without A.J. Brown, 17 points per game. And then also Dallas Goedert went down with an injury. He averaged 17 points per game without Dallas Goedert and only 12 with him. But guys, there were just 5 weeks last year where both A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert were both healthy with Devonta Smith. Those weeks were week 1 and then 10 to 13. If you look at Devonta's averages in those span on the left-hand side here, you can see he didn't have a single touchdown. You know, his receiving yards per game, 42.3 compared to 70.6 without one of those guys. Receptions are down. Red zone targets are down. Almost half. Targets are way down. Fantasy points per snap, points per game, you only average 8.6. I mean, look, he's a fine floor play in a low passing volume offense, but he's a much better best ball dynasty player than he is like a traditional where you have to set your lineup. I mean, last year, if you're honest, if you had Devonta Smith, you weren't sure which weeks you could really put him out there with confidence anyway. But I think there are much cheaper options that you can tier down to that give you just as much upside, like a Jameson Williams, a Jordan Addison, a Jalen Waddle. I can't for the life of me understand why Ayuk is so much cheaper than a Devonta Smith. Like a Jerry Jeudy, for example. Again, no disrespect intended. I just think if you have a wide receiver too who's, you know, just giving you that kind of production, around 15, 14 points per game, then I would much rather trade him for a veteran who's going to do that for me or trade him for a different player that I can tier down to. So that's my take. You can agree or disagree with it. All right. What else have you got for me, the Wheel of Dynasty? Let's see what else the Dynasty Wheel of Fortune has in store for us. I'm gonna juke the stats a little bit because there's only a couple options left. I will tell you my 2025 breakout. Now, you might know if you've watched this channel for a while, I have a little bit of a bromance, maybe one-way bromance with Trey Benson. I do think it is a breakout season for Trey Benson. And yes, I know James Conner is there. I know he just got extended. I understand that. He's a very good running back. Let's be on the same page. All of that we can agree on, okay? But this coaching staff has talked pretty openly multiple times this offseason about how they view Conner and Benson heading into 2025 as a duo. It's not the same thing last year as Benson's a rookie. He's going to have to learn some stuff, pass protection, prove himself. No, they are speaking as if it's a true duo. Have a listen to the head coach himself.
I really see us, if he takes a necessary jump from year 1 to year 2, I think we got 2 starting backs. You know, that's how I kind of view those guys. And you see certain teams out there that have like 2 1s, I would say. I think we should have 2 1s next year.
And for some reason in the Dynasty community, there's this common theme right now that Trey Benson was bad last year. I'm sorry, but if that's your opinion, I couldn't disagree more. It's just not true. That couldn't be remotely close to the truth. He was disappointing for fantasy. Yes, I can agree. He was disappointing for fantasy, but that's because of a lack of opportunities. That's not because he played poorly. I mean, guys, from week 3 onwards, once he started to get his footing in the NFL, there were 70 running backs in the NFL who had 40 rushing attempts or more. And in that span, he ranked 5th in yards per attempt, 6th in yards after contact per attempt, 7th in elusive rating, and 24th in yards per route run, so he was a viable receiving option. In that span, he had a higher points per touch, fantasy points per touch, than J.K. Dobbins, who you guys know was very good last year in Los Angeles, Najee Harris, Brian Robinson, DeAndre Swift, Ramondre Stevenson, Tony Pollard, Christian McCaffrey, and Jonathan Taylor. So we can agree that he was disappointing for fantasy football, but he was not a bad NFL player. He just needs more opportunities. And if you are doing the math just like me, that only leaves 1 session left. That is my best stash. So here's the deal, okay? If you can stash a Chicago Bears running back, you should do it. And I don't care which name it is. Kyle Monangai, Rashawn Johnson. I frankly don't care which name you stash. Stash one of these names. And it is very simple logic here. The logic is DeAndre Swift was really bad last year. He was awful. He was truly awful. I mean, last year, 46 running backs had 100 rushing attempts. He ranked 39th in PFF grade, 39th in yards per attempt, 44th in yards after contact per attempt, 24th in missed tackles forced, and 42nd in elusive rating. Now, look, that doesn't automatically mean that Rashawn Johnson or Kyle Monangai are going to be better than DeAndre Swift. But if this staff decides, you know what, we want to see what else we have, those are the 2 guys who are next in line to get opportunities. If you look at the depth chart, it's very obviously not going to be Travis Homer, right? And more importantly than whether DeAndre Swift will be successful or not, keep in mind, guys, that Ben Johnson has had a big history of multiple fantasy running backs being successful. He's had 2 running backs finish top 24 in the past 3 years, every single season. Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift in 2022, then Gibbs and Monty in both the 23 and 24 seasons. So if you can stash one of these names, definitely do it because anything is possible and we want to be connected to that Chicago Bears offense. But I appreciate y'all watching the video. Do me a favor, let me know what you think about the video in the comments below. Subscribe if you like the content. and I'll see you guys in the next video. Nothing but love.
If you're thinking about supporting us in this economy, that's big love, and you deserve love in return. So for every yearly Mother Flocker member who uses the promo code LAND, we're giving out a free team playbook, our 2025 rookie report, access to all premium tools, free site vouchers, and of course, a huge thank you from the LAND crew. You're far too kind. That's love.